Hello everyone. Today we are going to discuss the problem monsters from CSCS graph problem set. Let's go through the problem. You and some monsters are in a labyrinth. When taking a step to some direction in the labyrinth, each monster may simultaneously take one as well. Your goal is to reach one of the boundary squares without ever sharing a square with a monster. Your task is to find out if your goal is possible, and if it is, print a path that you can follow. Your plan has to work in any situation, even if the monsters know your path beforehand. So the input contains first integers n and m, that is the height and width of the map. After this, there are n lines of m characters. Each character is either a floor where you can walk, hashtag that is wall where you can't walk, a that is the start point, and m which denotes a monster. There can be multiple monsters. There is exactly one starting point in the input. So you need to print yes if your goal is possible and no otherwise. And if your goal is possible, you also need to print an example of a valid path. That is the length of the path and its description using characters D, U, L, and R. You can print any path as long as its length is at most n into m steps. Okay. And input is of the order of 1000. N and m are of the order of 1000. So yeah, any solution that is working in n square or nm will definitely work, right? Okay. Let's first of all try to understand what the problem is, and then we can see how we can actually solve this. So the question says that you have one starting point and there are multiple monsters. Okay. Dot represents the floor where you can walk, and hashtag represents the wall where you can't walk. Now from starting point, you have to go to any of the corner points of the map or the grid that is given to you. You can, like in this particular example, you can't go to these corner points as wall exists over here. So you can either go over here, 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 or here. You have to reach to some corner points in the map or the grid. But the condition is that let's suppose you take 5 steps to reach there, then any of the monsters present in the grid should take at least 6 steps, that is greater than 5 steps. If they are able to reach in 5 or lesser steps, then you can't go over there. This condition is true for any of the cells. Like let's suppose if I consider this particular cell. So this monster can reach this particular cell in just 1 step. Similarly, you can also reach from the starting point till here in 1 step only. So you can't go over here because there exists a monster that can reach in either equal or lesser number of steps to the same cell. So every cell you traverse, the number of steps that you are taking should be strictly lesser than any of the monsters would take. And by covering those cells, you have to reach to some corner points. Now for this particular example, if I start from here and go over here, I would take 1 step, right? Any of the monsters present over here would take more than 1 step to reach here. So definitely you can go to this cell. Now from this cell, you can go to this cell, and the number of steps you have taken from the starting point is 2. And any of the monster would take greater number of steps, right? So you can go over here. Similarly, you can go over here and then you can go over here. So there exists a valid path like this. Let's suppose if I would have told you that this particular hashtag was not there and over here I had a dot, that is the flow. So now can you follow exactly the same path? Can you follow exactly the same path? The answer is no. Why? Over here you took 1 step, 2 steps, 3 steps. So reaching this particular cell took you 3 steps. This monster can reach the same cell in 3 steps. So you can't reach to this particular cell. And these paths are already blocked for you. These monsters can cover these paths at lesser number of steps as compared to what you will take. So if this was the example, then the answer would be clearly no. But if this was the example, you had hashtag over here, then definitely yes, the answer would simply be yes. The number of steps that you would take is 4, and the direction would be you first of all go right, then down, down, and then you go right. Right, down, down, and then you go right. So this is what the problem statement is. So Yes, let's see how we can solve this problem. So before solving this problem, I would say the same thing. This problem consists of two parts. The first thing is to check whether the path exists or not, or the length of the path. Length of the path, or the path exists or not, basically. The second thing is printing the path. So by solving, I hope that all of you have already solved the before questions of this monster, before this problem, whatever is there in the CSES problem set. So I hope many of you would have now got the logic of how do we actually print the path by maintaining the parent, right? In this particular example, I would do exactly the same thing only, but with a bit of change. Like you all will see what I am doing with a bit of change, so that you see something different. But the logic would be same, that I will try to maintain the parent or something, and by for printing the path. So this is just a practice of what you have already done in previous problems, but this length of the path or the path exists or not is something new that you will see in this particular problem, since there are multiple monsters as well along with you who will be traveling, who will be making simultaneous steps. Okay, so let's see first of all how we can solve this. So let's first of all just ignore that you have something called starting point as well. Let's first of all look the things for monster. Like if I tell you that in any of the cell in the grid, like let's suppose this particular cell, tell me the minimum number of steps taken by any of the monster. Before solving this problem, just tell me one thing. Does it matter? Does it matter that which particular monster is coming over here while taking minimum number of steps? For example, this particular monster takes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 steps, right? This particular monster takes 5 steps. Similarly, this particular monster will take 1, 2, 3, 4. It will take only 4 steps. So if I ask you this problem, that tell me the minimum number of steps taken to reach this particular cell by the monster, what will be your answer? Your answer will be simply 4, right? You won't say me that Harsh, for this particular monster situated at this particular row and this particular column, it is 4. And for this particular monster situated at this particular row and this particular column, it is 5. You won't answer me like that, right? You would simply answer me that the minimum number of steps required would be 4. Right or wrong? Right, isn't it? So it does not matter for any particular cell that which monster is coming. It only matters that what is the minimum number of steps. So can I say that if I am considering only monsters in this particular cell, in this particular grid, and I want to calculate the minimum distance to reach to a particular cell by any of the monster, then I have multiple starting points. I can either start from here, I can either start from here, I can either start from here, right? Now, what is the basic method we follow for this? For reaching, for going to any of the cell and calculating the minimum distance? We do simple BFS traversal, right? We do simple BFS traversal. But in this particular problem, would you do BFS traversal individually for every monster? Would you do that? Would you do that? Let's suppose you thought of doing this, okay? Tell me the time complexity it would take. What will be the maximum time complexity it will take? For every monster, you will assume the time complexity of nm. You will assume that it is going to every cell at least once in the worst case. And let's suppose there are multiple monsters. Let's suppose there are n monsters. So the time complexity will become big of nm into n. So which is big of n square m, and which will definitely give you TLE, right? So you can't do this. You can't go to each and every monster and do the BFS individually. Then how do we actually do the BFSL? How do we actually do the BFSL? So this is the point where it does not matter to a particular cell which particular monster is coming, but the only thing matters is what is the minimum number of steps taken by any of the monsters. So in this case, what you can actually do is a multi-source BFS. Just a fancy word, nothing very like tough thing. Just it is named as multi-source BFS, and the meaning of this is hidden in the name only, multi-source. Multi-source means you are starting the BFS from multiple sources. Your starting point for the BFS is from multiple sources. What does it mean? What do you, if I would have given you only one monster, what you would have do? For BFS traversal, in your queue, you would have passed this particular row and this particular column, right? Now what you would do is, instead of just passing this particular row and column, you would also pass this particular row and column. You will also push this particular row and column, and you will also push this particular row and column. This is what we call as multi-source BFS. And you will mark the distance of this as also 0, this as also 0, and this as also 0. So instead of doing BFS for individually for every monster, you would do a multi-source BFS, and in just big of nm time, you will be able to find for each and every cell what is the minimum time taken for any of the monster to reach that particular cell. Let us first see the code for this, and then we will proceed further. Okay. So first of all, what I have taken the input of the grid. Then I have calculated I have constructed a monster distance vector of size n cross m and initialized it with a very big value, let's suppose 1e8. And then I have constructed a queue pair of int comma int. Why pair? Because I am storing row comma column. Then I say, I just for this maintaining this a, that is our starting point, I have kept start row and start column. Traversing over the grid, if my grid value at I comma j is exactly equals to m, then in my queue I am pushing this I comma j, and my monster distance for this particular row comma column set would become equals to 0. So you can clearly see that for every m I am pushing it into the queue and marking the distance as 0. This is how we actually perform multi-source BFS. If the grid value is a, then we are just populating the starting row with I and starting column with j. This will help us in the future. Then this is just a lambda function for is valid. We will see this later. Now we do a multi-source BFS while queue, it will be exactly the same. The only thing that is different is we have pushed multiple values inside the queue in the start. Now while the queue is not empty, extracting row and column from the front, popping it, going over all the 4 directions. I hope this thing is now clear to all of you, that how do we actually traverse or do multi-source or do simple BFS or DFS for a grid. Traveling in 4 directions, 8 directions. We have done it in many questions till now. Like all the before questions that we have solved, we have done this. So I hope this thing is clear to each and every one of you. Going over all the 4 directions, my new row will be the current row plus the direction vector for k. So this is what the direction vector is. New column is column plus direction vector for y. If this new row and new column is not valid, I am simply continuing. So this is valid function is simply returning me true. If my row is greater than equals to 0, column is greater than equals to 0, row is lesser than n, and column is lesser than m. If this is not valid, that is I am outside the grid, so I am simply continuing. If it is valid and it is not a wall, so grid value should not be wall, grid value is not wall, and you can move to this particular new row and new column. Now when you can move? You can move only when the current value in the monster distance vector for this new row and new column is greater than whatever the value is in row comma column plus 1, because from row comma column you will go to new row and new column, so you would take an extra step. So if the value is greater than what the steps it would take, so you will simply populate this with the new value, that is the lesser value, and in your queue you will push new row and new column. So this is how for every cell now we will have the minimum distance for any of the monster to reach that particular cell. I hope this thing is clear. Now if this thing is clear, now let's forget we have monsters. Let's try to do our BFS traversal from this starting point. Okay. So the BFS traversal will be exactly the same, but there will be one extra condition. Can you guys guess what will be that extra condition? I hope many of you guessed it right. The extra condition would be you will go to a cell only when the monster distance for that particular cell is strictly greater than the number of steps or the distance that you have traversed. Like for example, for this particular cell, the monster distance will come as 1, right? And if you start from starting point and go to this particular cell, your distance will also come as 1. So in that case, you won't go to this particular cell. This is what the simple extra condition that you will add to check whether you can go to a particular cell or not. How we will print the path, for that I will come later. But first, let's see the code for how we are going to do our BFS traversal from the starting point. So if you remember, we already had the start row and start column, right? So I have constructed a new distance vector for this start row and start column, again n cross m, and in my distance of start row and start column, I am simply keeping as 0 because this is where my starting point is. Constructed a queue, n row as -1 and n column as -1. We will require this because once we reach to any of the corners, I will simply populate end row and end column and simply break. And in my new queue that I have created, I am simply pushing start row and start column because this is where my BFS is going to start from. Now, while my queue is not empty, extracting the row and column from front, popping it. If this row and column is one of the end cells of the grid, so I have constructed an isEnd function that returns me true if my R is it is the first row or the first column or the last row or the last column. Basically, I am standing at the corner points. If that is the case, then in that case, this isEnd function will return me true. In that case, I am marking the end row as R, end column as C, and simply breaking. This means I was able to reach at one of the corner points. If this is not so, I am traversing over all the 4 possible directions, getting new row and new column. First of all, checking that if it is within the grid, that is if it is valid. If it is not valid, simply continuing. If it is valid, it is not a wall and distance of new row and new column is greater than whatever distance of row comma column plus 1. Because from row comma column, you will go to new row and new column, right? Till here, the things are exactly the same what we actually do for finding the minimum distance. The things will differ over here. I have an extra if condition. The number of steps I am taking to reach this new row and new column is actually distance of row comma column plus 1, right? Now this value should be strictly lesser than whatever is the monster distance for reaching this new row and new column. If it is so, then only I am populating this distance of new row and new column with the lesser value, and in my queue I am pushing new row and new column. So once you are done with this and at the end your end row value is still -1, simply print no and return, otherwise print yes. So this is how actually you can check or find the number of steps it would take you to reach the end row and end column. I hope this thing is very much clear to all of you. Now we will simply print a path. There can be multiple ways. You can maintain parent vector, something like that. Let me tell you a bit new way, like how we can actually populate this. So what I have done is, I will tell you. What I have done is, let's suppose from here I go over here, okay, and I was able to go over here because monster distance was greater than what the actual number of steps I am taking, right? So this is I go towards right. I am going towards right, isn't it? So I will just simply see my distance vector, this direction vector. So which coordinate actually takes me right? Which coordinate actually takes me right? Can you guys tell me? Which coordinate actually takes me right? This one, right? Where my column increases by 1 and my rows become 0. And my row is 0, right? So this means when I was writing this, so my k value was 0. When I went from this particular cell to this particular cell, my k value was 0. So what I will do is, I have maintained a vector of vector int path, and in my path, I am just simply pushing that k value. Once I do that, I will show you how my path vector will look like. My path vector will look like something like this. Over here, I will have 0 because 0 means right. If you just notice, at index 0, we were moving right, isn't it? This 0 says that I have reached here. Just a minute. The 0 says that I have reached here by traveling right. This means my parent exists towards the left, but I have reached here by traveling towards right. That is, from here I have traveled over here. Similarly, for this particular thing, I have moved down, right? So at this particular index in my path vector, I will store, if you just notice over here, moving down is present at index 2, right? That is, your row increases by 1 and column remains same. So over here I will write 1. This means I have reached to this particular cell by traveling down. Similarly for here it will be 1 and here it will be 0. So this is how my path vector will look like. Now I am standing at end row and end column and I want to extract the path, right? I have traveled right to reach to this particular cell. So what I will do is, I will just maintain a vector of size 4, a character vector of size 4. Over where I will keep at index 0, I will keep character right. At index 1, I will keep character left. Why at index 1 left? Because if you just notice, if I am traveling via index 1, this means I have traveled left to reach to that particular cell. Similarly at index, just a minute, over here it will be 2. I just made a mistake here. Sorry, this will be 2, right? You moved down. Down is at index 2. This value will be 2. Yeah. Okay, sorry. At index 2, I will simply keep down. And at index 3, I will simply keep up. Okay. Now I'm standing over here initially, right? And my end row and end column is over here. And I see that the value in the path vector is 0. So what I would do is, I will simply push, I will create an answer vector. And in that, I will simply push whatever is the value at index 0 over here. The value is R, right? I will simply push R. And what I would do is, if you just notice, I will just write the numbers for better understanding. This is column 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is row 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, right? Initially, my end row and end column is, my end row is 3, and end column is 6. Now I know that I traveled right, that is, I followed index 0 direction to reach over here. So I would have done, if I was standing over here, whatever was present at dx of 0, I would have added that to reach to this particular coordinate to get the new row, and to get the new column, I would have done plus dy of 0, right? If I was standing at this particular cell, to reach to this particular cell, I would have done dx plus dx of 0 plus dy of 0. These were my new coordinates, right? So to return to that parent cell, what will I do? To return to that parent cell, I will simply do minus dx of 0 from here and minus dy of 0. Minus dx of 0. How I am getting this index 0? It is already stored in this path vector, right? I will simply do minus dx of 0 and minus dy of 0. So just notice, my dx of 0 is 0 and dy of 0 is 1. So my y coordinate will decrease by 1. So my y coordinate will decrease by 1 and it will become 5. So I would be standing at 3, 5 now. So I was able to go to my parent. Then over here it is 2. So I will simply push whatever is present at index 2, that is down. And I will go over here by simply following the stem steps, minus dx of 2 minus dy of 2. Similarly, over here it is 2, then we will do d. Over here it is 0, we will simply do r. Once you are done with this, you know, currently you have the path in reverse order, because you have traveled from here to here, then here to here, and then here to here. So you have it in reverse order, though this is a palindrome that is formed in this particular problem, so it won't affect. But you also have to reverse the answer. Though after reversing, you will get the same in this particular example. But yes, you have to reverse the answer to get the path from here. So this is how actually you can print the path as well. So let's see that code. So yeah, I have made this path vector and this direction vector, what I was talking of, with index 0 as r, 1 as l, 2 as d, and 3 as u. So while I was updating the new row and new while I was pushing new row and new column inside my queue, I also updated the path for new row and new column with index k. Okay. Now I constructed a vector int answer while my either my end row is not equals to start row or end column is not equals to start column. First of all, getting the index from the path. In my answer, pushing the direction of index. Direction of index. Simply pushing that in my answer. My end row becomes minus dx of idx. End column becomes minus dy of idx. Once you are done with this, reverse the answer. Print the number of steps, that is basically the answer dot size, and print the path as well. So this is how actually you can solve this problem. This answer construction part, that is printing the path, I think we have done in many problems now. Like in most of the problems it was there. But the new thing that was there in this problem was multi-source BFS, where why we were able to do multi-source BFS, because it does not affected that to this particular cell you are coming via this monster or this monster. It was not mattering to us. The only thing that mattered is what is the minimum number of steps by any of the monsters. So because of that, we were able to do multi-source BFS. And what is multi-source BFS? Nothing new. The only thing is in the start, instead of just pushing one value, we are pushing multiple values. And in my distance vector, for all these values, I am marking the distance as 0. So I hope the solution is clear to each and every one of you. Thank you.